Hacking. It happens to everybody. Usually hacks are pretty small. Sometimes they're really big. Ideally, they're disclosed ahead of time, and hopefully the company that caused them will actually respond and fix things. Basically, everything I just listed here didn't happen in the scenarios we're about to talk about. I'm lucky to have a few community members, specifically Mr. Bruh and XYZ Eva, who have been on top of the world of hacking, specifically finding security issues in Firebase apps. I knew this was going to be bad. I actually filmed an intro when I started the video, not realizing how crazy it was. We're literally talking about billions upon billions of dollars of potential exploits here that they were kind enough to just hand over to the companies that caused them. Make sure you watch this video to the end because there is so much craziness throughout, including but not limited to the company's customer supports flirting with the hackers, including billions of dollars of exploits, including basically every fast food restaurant being pwned, and of course, lots of Firebase. Let's dive in. So let's hear how Mr. Bruh and Eva successfully pwned like over half of the fast food in the US. When I beat playing, my console alerted me that my script had finished running. To be precise, it was searching for exposed Firebase credentials on any of hundreds of recent AI startups. This was achieved through a public list of sites using the .ai TLD and parsing the site data to any referenced JS bundles for references to common Firebase initialization variables. I don't think y'all understand how easy it is for people to just look through your code and see what you're using in that code base. You might like to believe that these things are private and get compiled out. They don't. It's pretty easy to deobfuscate JS and see what people are using, including in this case, Firebase. Well, here's where things get fun. Production API keys in your Firebase project. Surprisingly common, especially for mobile apps. People love to just ship their keys in the app. And if you don't have things set up properly, that can get bad, especially when you just get like your OpenAPI server-side keys bundled into your crappy iOS app. Disaster waiting to happen. Surprisingly common. My hunch was that in the rush to push their shiny new product, somebody would take a shortcut and forget to implement proper security rules. Yeah. Welcome to the world of Firebase, where everything is exposed to the client by default and nothing has good rules. Firebase is great until someone like this comes at your service and realizes that half your fields don't have proper write protection set up because no one does that. And then the result is that you can hack them. The hunch was right, and it was worse than I could have ever guessed. Meet Chattr.ai, the self-proclaimed AI hiring system that claims to shave 88% of the time off of your hiring for new people. I wonder if this site could replace that recruiter we were talking about earlier. They provide their services to a massive number of fast food chains and other hourly employees all around the United States, including but not limited to Applebee's, Arby's, Chick-fil-A, Dunkin', IHOP, KFC, Shuni's, Subway, Taco Bell, Target, and Wendy's. As a big Dunkin' fan, this hurts me. One of the worst parts of moving West Coast is that I went from having like 3 Dunkin' Donuts per citizen in Boston to like, there's I think 1 in San Jose and that's it. We're not here to talk about my love of Dunkin' Donuts and my history of Massachusetts. We're here to talk about Firebase being shit. The vulnerability. If you drop the Firebase config from the JS bundle into Firepwn, you start out with 0 permissions as you can see in the following screenshot. Firepwn. Firepwn is a tool made for testing the security rules of a Firebase app. Ooh. Fancy. Most of the Firebase pentest scripts on GitHub are using the Firebase REST API to test for configuration issues in Firebase apps. However, they might provide false positives resulting in some GCP environments. The scripts test for authentication issues only and not authorization. Big deal. They just see if you can get authenticated for things you shouldn't be able to see. But more importantly, authorization tools means that you can check what they do and don't have the ability to do, which is where it gets even crazier. Because if you are authenticated, even if it's the wrong token, but you can then change things for other users, that's almost worse. And people love to think as soon as they put an auth wall in front of their stuff, that they're safe and good to go. But if I can pass through your auth wall and what is inside is just an open garden for me to fuck around in, it doesn't matter that you have auth if I am authenticated to then do whatever I want to do. And most things don't have their Firebase security rules set up properly. And as they say here, they might be just checking for allow read permissions, at least the scripts that they cited here before. So if the Firebase security rules are set to deny read, but also allow write, then you'd probably miss some critical findings. Big deal. Imagine there's some deny read thing that's you keeping track of like a user's balance, let's say, but anyone can write to it. Now, if you're a user with a balance, I can update your balance or my own or anyone else's if they didn't set the right permissions properly as well. After digging into Google's docs for a while, I managed to realize how Firebase applications work internally and the real possibilities to exploit misconfigured Firebase security rules. That's why I created Firepwn, a tool for testing authentication and authorization by utilizing multiple Google services like Firebase Auth, Firestore, and Cloud Functions using the client SDK. I did see Eva said in chat she made her own in-house version with her crew because that one was clunky. I actually did see her share this, Peony, which is a Firebase exploitation tool. Yeah, love that. This is the problem with these services that promise to just do everything for you. And this is why I don't trust any backend as a service. If you're not writing your backend code, you don't have a backend. You have a security issue waiting to happen. Anybody who is providing you a data store that you hit via API on the client side has just thrown away all of your control. And it does not surprise me that something like Firebase has default configs that screw people over so much that tools like this can trivially identify things that you should not have access to. This all logically follows. Whenever you make certain work unnecessary without making really, really good standards around the work you just made unnecessary, you are going to make things much worse for people. This is kind of the issue I have with other tools that are trying to abstract like your database via GraphQL. Like I don't like Hasura for the same reasons, but Firebase is probably the single service that is the most guilty of tricking app and web devs into thinking they don't actually need to build a backend. And since they don't think they need to build a backend, they don't really think in backend. And the result is terrible security. I know that people don't love that Next.js is trying to push more and more React devs into servers, but it's forcing them to think about them. And that's a huge difference. The server component revolution has been controversial because suddenly React devs have to think about servers as part of their architecture. And historically, they've avoided doing that. This is why you can't avoid doing that. Everyone should think more about servers and the relationship between the server and the client if you want to build software that interfaces with both. This is great. Got a fun picture from Eva here. This is showing when the blog post came out. Yeah, understandable. And I have a feeling after this video comes out, the stars are going to spike yet again because, tools like this should probably be more common, not because everyone deserves to get hacked, but because knowledge of these things needs to be more understood. I also saw a really good question of, is Supabase the same? I will say that Supabase can be the same, but if you're using it properly, it won't be. This is why I don't like the Supabase JS client, where you're actually using Supabase's JavaScript on a user's device to do things, because then if you get anything wrong with all of your row-level security stuff, you're screwed. What I much prefer is that you have your own backend where you're using Supabase just as a database, maybe even through an ORM like Drizzle, and you're just treating Supabase as Postgres. That's A+. As long as you have a server that you run, that is the thing that goes from the user doing something to your database's response, you need something in the middle there, and you need to own that something. Any service that is pretending to abstract that for you is a liability. It is just a shit show waiting to happen. I cannot in good faith recommend Firebase at all for this reason. I cannot in good faith recommend Supabase's client-side stuff for this reason. All of these things tend to just make the likelihood you have a security issue much, much higher. On the topic of Supabase actually has a linter to make it slightly less likely you make these types of security mistakes. So that's cool to see, but still work to be done. I wanted to emphasize something quick. These guys are working really hard. Mr. Bruh's a second-year uni student. Like, he's still in college here, and he's working 4 to 6 hours a day in order to find the email addresses in order to responsibly disclose these things. Here is a picture of a form that they're working on in Retool so that they can actually fill out all of this shit more effectively, because you have to do this all by hand. You can't automate the reporting. But also, Eva's only 17. No offense to Eva, she's clearly like next level at 17 years old. But if you're getting pwned by a 17-year-old and your response isn't the kindest thank you and a job offer, you fucked up. So yeah, probably the most hireable person in security very soon. And yes, I feel old. She's 12 years younger than me. Jesus Christ. Apparently, Eva, as well as Mr. Bruh, the people who actually did these hacks, are working with Supabase to try and prevent these things from happening to them in the future. That's really cool to hear. I'm pumped about that. Good stuff. Oh, look at that. Eva's already committed. That's dope. That's huge. And like, again, if any of you companies are looking for security experts to help with your shit, here you go. There's one right there. XYZ Eva. Anyways, back to this blog post, because I'm enjoying this a lot. As we see here, Firepwn, you just drop the config, and then it will go through and figure out all the things you can and can't access. But if you use Firebase's registration feature to create a new user, you cannot register on their site. You get full privileges, read and write from the Firebase DB. So this is the default. If you register in an app, it might be different. You start with 0 permissions if you start with the JS bundle. But if you make a new user, then full privileges, as long as you make it through Firebase's registration feature instead. Good to know. Here we now see we have access to literally everything. The data it exposes includes, and is not limited to, names, phone numbers, emails, plain text passwords, locations of branches, confidential messages, and shifts. And they found this for all Chattr employees, for all franchise managers, and all job applicants. Pwned as fuck. That is actually insane. And apparently it gets worse. Oh boy. Yes, somehow it manages to get even worse. If you grab the list of admin users from org's 0 users, you can splice a new entry into it, giving you full access to the... So they didn't have the proper right protections on their admin table. So you can just add yourself as an admin. So at that point, if you don't have the right permissions, preventing people from adding themselves as admins, you're fucked. Are you kidding? And like, this is where I really want to emphasize the point I was making about owning your own backend. I cannot imagine a single person watching this video writing backend code for adding and removing admins to their service that wouldn't think to check if the person doing the ad is an admin or not. That's the first line of code you write in that function. The add as admin function first checks to see if the person doing it's an admin or not, and then it does the thing. That's how you write that code. But if you're using Supabase or Firebase on the client side and you're letting them be your backend for you, you're not writing that code because you're expecting them to write it for you. And that's where the failure happens. When you don't own the function itself that does these changes, you have just thrown away all control. It's not that you can't go into their side and configure it through all their settings and shit. It's that that's no longer part of your code base. It's no longer part of the traditional scope of ownership of the code that you wrote. And most importantly, that's not going to come up in code review either. And that's the biggest thing. If a random junior dev commits some shit and makes some changes in the Firebase config that have these problems, you can't see that in code review. But if somebody makes this function and adds it to your backend, and then that gets seen in code review, you can prevent that from happening. It's so much less likely that these failures leak into production if you have them in your code and you have them in a service that you own. As you can see below, it allows for even more control over their system, including accepting and denying applicants or even refunding payments made to Chattr. Hey, Chattr.ai, do you guys have any idea how lucky you are that this was found by wholesome people that would like responsibly report it to you instead of by some hacker that wants to destroy the world? You could have gotten so fucked, like so fucked. No offense to Bruh and Eva and all the people who do stuff like this. We shouldn't, oh wait, they ghost. Never mind. Apparently they were ghosts. I hate the space sometimes. I really do. Yeah, they made a public tweet with a wrong email. They fixed it and ghosted us. Yes, let's see the response. I have to. This is why you need to keep your DMs open, by the way. Everybody's like, why do I have my DMs open when I have 150,000 followers? It's because first off, I have somebody else who helps me check it. But more importantly, if something like this happens, like I know Eva because she DM'd me, hey, Theo, should I be able to edit things in your Notion docs? Because she has successfully exploited my Notion. Yeah, this is hilarious. At Chattr, your privacy and security are our top priority. We've swiftly addressed a vulnerability in our recruiting platform, ensuring that your data remains safe. No financial info was breached. We're enhancing security measures for your peace of mind. For additional questions, please reach out to us at this, which apparently this isn't even the right domain. Yeah, this isn't even them. So in their email here, they put the wrong... Oh, God. And Eva... with the, I'm going to hit the like so I can be the one to push you over for the ratio. That's so good. Also, for what it's worth, when Eva did this, what did you have, like 8 to 10 followers? Now that I'm referencing her all the time, she's at 200. If she's not at 2,000 by the time this video has been live for 24 hours, y'all fucked up. Go give her a follow. She's having a lot of fun hacking these things, and I'm having a lot of fun talking about them. Link will be in the description, of course. She got a bug bounty from the Firebase stuff and used that to gift me a bunch of subs. And also pwned a weed shop recently with the same Firebase bug. So, yeah. Hilarious. Let's get back to this blog post. Just given full control over all of this stuff. That's so funny. Like they're inside of their Chattr UI looking at stuff because they have admin permissions now. Just hilarious. Yeah, I am so blackpilled. I cannot trust anything using Firebase anymore if this is this easy to do. Here's the timeline. 0601. So this was last year, 2023. Vulnerability discovered. 9.1. Vulnerability write-up completed and emailed to them. 10.01. Vulnerability patched. 11.01. Support ticket closed. No thanks or further contact received despite explicitly requesting. That's so inappropriate. We need to thank these people who do these things, especially when they follow the rules this well. They did everything as responsible as possible here, and they never got a follow-up. That's horrifying. Also, I just realized I misread these dates. This is fucking... You even specify there. I'm just too US pilled. So this was January 6th. They found it. January 9th, they emailed it. January 10th, it was fixed. So clearly the fix was a direct result of them finding it and emailing them. So to not credit them or thank them for it is disgusting. I love shouting out and thanking the people who find these things in my services. Everybody makes mistakes. Usually the mistakes aren't this big, and usually the mistakes aren't Firebase, but everyone has security issues in their stuff sometimes. It is important to build a good relationship with your community such that when people find these things, they know they can come to you and have a relationship with them. Usually in these scenarios, the people who find these things are compensated and given some form of bounty as a thank you, both to recognize the hard work they did, but also to balance out the fact that they chose to not make a bunch of money exploiting this. They obviously could have stolen and done crazy stuff and gotten a bunch of money from this exploit, but instead of doing that, They documented it, told them about it, and then got nothing for it other than this blog post and now this video. So yeah, if you're a company that has a way for people to report these things, pay the people who do it. If you're a company that doesn't have a way to report these things, fix that now, because you don't want these people to not... The number of times I've already had Eva come to me asking for intros to other companies because they don't have a way to responsibly disclose security stuff is insane. It shouldn't take a YouTuber and a random hacker to keep your stuff safe. You should make it easier for everyone to report these things to you, and you should compensate and thank them accordingly. If you want to learn even more about the fast food hack, you can check this article out on kibdi.town. I'll be sure this is linked in the description. But it turns out it wasn't just this fast food hack. They actually got into 900 sites using these same exploits. Let's take a look at how. 900 sites, 125 million accounts, one vulnerability. Oh boy. And now, if anyone says, oh, this is just like users being dumb, obviously anyone using Firebase properly isn't going to have this problem. When one vulnerability results in 900 sites being compromised, that's no longer user issues. That's no longer just skill issues. That's the way the service was implemented. There's a point where you have to reflect on the fact that a significant number of your users are using things so wrong that you need to do something about the service. And if this isn't a wake-up call to Firebase that they really need to fix shit, I don't know what will be, because this is terrifying. TLDR. Firebase allows for easy misconfiguration of security rules with zero warnings. Yep, it's pretty clear at this point. This has resulted in hundreds of sites exposing a total of 125 million users, including plain text passwords and sensitive billing info. Yep. After the initial buzz of pwning Chattr.ai had settled down, we set to work on scanning the entire internet for exposed private information via misconfigured Firebase instances. Attempt 1. Mr. Bro wrote up a rudimentary scanner in Python that would check for Firebase config variables in websites or in their loaded JS bundles. It worked, until it didn't. Turns out that a Python program with 500 threads will start to chew up memory over time. For us, that meant it was out of memorying in an hour of starting it. Just put it on a cron. Understandable, this is insane. Attempt 2. LogEKK rewrote the scanner in Go. Unlike the prior, it didn't seem to leak memory. Our initial estimate was that this was going to take around 11 days to scan through the 5.5 million domains, but it turned out to be closer to 2 to 3 weeks, which made this very much a waiting game. Yeah. Also, how insane is it that they went through the entire web, so to speak, everything they had like an easy way to index and list. It took them 2 to 3 weeks to just analyze all the sites. Actually insane. Manually checking every domain. We first went through and started manually looking at each entry in the 550,000 line text file, seeing if we could find anything interesting. This was time consuming and very repetitive. I can't even imagine. In the end, we went through quite a lot of it and found 136 sites and 6.2 million records. So they realized this was taking too long, they need to automate it. And here's where they built Catalyst. Once we had acquired our short list of potentially affected sites, we ran it through a secondary scanner that Eva had made called Catalyst. This would take the sites or the JS bundles that they found, then automatically check for read access to common Firebase collections and any that were explicitly mentioned in the JS itself. That's a really good call. If you see things that the JavaScript code is referencing and accessing, it's worth checking those things. They probably are both the useful things and the things that were incorrectly configured. When it found read access to a collection, it would attempt to calculate the impact of the exposed data by gathering a sample of 100 records, checking the types of information contained, and extrapolating that by the total size of the collection. Clever. Then they had to find a place to store all of these results, and they actually chose Supabase, funny enough, just for the irony. Okay, I love that. You guys are funny. I like this a lot. Once all of this had been completed, the data was formatted and uploaded to a private database table. There you go. Insane amount of data from all of these services they had compromised. Literally 900 of them. The numbers. All of the records they stole were 125 million, 85 million names, 106 million emails, 33, almost 34 million phone numbers, 20 million passwords. What the fuck? What the fuck? And then 27.5 million pieces of billing info. That is insane. What? 19 million of the passwords were plain text, according to Eva just now. So, yeah, once again, services like this encouraging madness, not best practices. These numbers should be taken with a grain of salt. They are likely larger than shown here. Oh, God. Oh, God. The short list of affected sites. CILID LMS. It's a learning management tool for students and teachers. Oh, boy. That means that this is exposing the info of underage people, which is its own separate chaotic thing. The fuck? 27 million affected users compromised. Do you know how valuable the phone numbers of children are? It's shitty and terrifying, but yeah, that's a very valuable and very, very scary data payload. Fuck. The online gambling network. Oh boy. Compromised of 9 sites, which are all reskins of each other. Good old gambling sites. Some spins are rigged to have a 0% chance of winning. I love that they were able to figure that out. Customer support tried to flirt with me when attempting to report the issue. What the fuck is this? What the fuck? Okay, apparently there's more DMs, so let me check that quick. Oh my God, there's a lot here. Oh boy, let's get these open in the browser. Here is more DMs. Hello, we believe we found a vulnerability in your site. Cause of misconfiguration. Really, really good reporting, by the way. This is like the right way to disclose these things. No, we're reporting an exploit. Please let us know when a person reads this. What do you want, sir? Don't send messages to me, please. You have an exploit. Fix it, please. No. I'm sorry, I have to. It's just too good. I can access everyone's data. My site is okay. Don't spam. We can fix. This emoji. Oh my God. So long time. Do you have a time machine? You so watching a movie a lot, bro. So I've always known these gambling sites were fucking scams, but holy shit. If you're currently an online gambling addict, hopefully at the very least this helps you move to IRL gambling instead, because this is fucked. Hello, I'm Joe, a developer. Thank you for your message and the guidance on improving web security. It's great to have your support in identifying and fixing this vulnerability, and I will address it as quickly as possible. Could you please tell me if there are any other websites that might be affected? If they are all sites I'm working on, I'd like to fix them all. Yes, we have a list of all your templates sites affected by this. Give me one moment. This could have actually been very bad. This had a chance of and you guys are smart, so this won't happen to you, but it's actually possible that if the hackers that figure this out weren't smart fuckers like y'all are, that he could have convinced you guys to give him info on other websites that you've pwned that aren't owned by him and his company, at which point they could use that data maliciously. I actually still think that might be the case, that they've already had this chat get pwned, and the person responding here might not actually be an employee of the company, but is actually looking for info to pwn the rest of this company's services. Not unlikely in the slightest. But I'm curious where this chat even came from. Was this like something they had on their site or something? Like, how did you find this place to send this to? Because this is insane. And I'm being irresponsible even pointing this out, but the vulnerability is apparently still live. So every user for the site also has to provide their bank login. Great. So me making this video might end up in a lot of people getting pwned. I am sincerely sorry, but I am doing my job of reporting publicly existing news on a company that hasn't addressed these things. So please get your shit fixed, gambling company, because you're about to get pwned real hard when this video goes live, and there's nothing I can do to prevent it. It's been like a month. The customer support was a line chat. Oh boy. You tried your best. You guys did great. And hopefully this video makes people a little bit more scared of not fixing their shit. Just don't gamble and you won't get pwned, I guess. Yeah, the biggest gamble is using Firebase. You are a Firebase support? No, an independent cybersecurity company. We perform penetration tests. Oh, I see. Thank you very much. No worries. Just let us know when it's fixed. The follow-up. We didn't make any accounts for this vulnerability. Please inform us of the information used for registration. This is just default crappy AI support trying to answer questions. Please capture the screenshot for the admin. Here's screenshots of them compromising everything. Couldn't get admin panel easily today, but all of your admin usernames and passwords are exposed. Same for the user phone numbers and passwords. Yeah, it's there. That's insane. As well as bank account details. What information do customers want to inquire about? Can you fix the issue, please? Do you want to apply for membership on the website? This is either AI or suggest you follow that. No thanks. Thanks you. There's some amount of language barrier here, but this is mostly pretending you're not responsible for shit. This is actually a different template site. Oh boy. Their only fix was deleting the admin panel too, which is insane. Actually insane. Jesus Christ. Back to this post, because this is only getting crazier. Contains the most amount of exposed bank account details and logins out of all of their records. 8 million bank account informations and details have been leaked through this. Also contains the most plaintext passwords out of all the affected sites at 10 million passwords being exposed. I'm assuming you guys confirmed that these are actual plaintext passwords by trying to sign into an account and being sure it worked. Or just looking at the passwords and seeing them be plain English, that works too. Cool. Confirmed they actually were able to get into accounts using this info, which means it is super pwned. Next one, lead carrot. What the fuck's lead carrot? Oh, it's lead carrot. It's a lead generator. Oh, it's like a carrot on a string. That's actually kind of clever. Shame they don't know how to code, because they were the top 3 in total amounts of exposed user info, sitting at 22 million affected people. Next is My Chef tool. It's a business management app and a point of sale application for restaurants. First place for most exposed names and second place for most exposed emails, 14 million and 13 million respectively. Jesus fuck. Mr. Broad has made a good point about the banks. Let's say that there's $500 in every bank account. Considering the insane number, how many was that again? 8 million bank accounts info exposed. So we'll just do the math ourselves quick. If we assume they all have $500 and there's 8 million That's a $4 billion exploit that they disclosed responsibly for free. Insanity. I've never seen anything at this level. Holy shit. And here's the aftermath. 842 emails sent over 13 days, 85% were delivered, 9% bounced. 24% of the site's owners fixed their misconfigs. Only 1% even bothered to email back. This is probably the most painful thing. Thankfully, at least a fourth fixed things, but less than a 25th of them actually bothered to hit up the people who did it and say thank you for letting us know. That's insane. 2 sites total offered a bug bounty. 0.2% of the things that they exploited here offered to pay them. I don't know if you guys are comfortable disclosing the number, but I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a lot less than $4 billion fucking dollars. Jesus Christ. Yeah, literally fuck all. You guys made literally nothing from that. That does not surprise me. Pennies on the dime. Can't even imagine. It was less than 10K. Jesus Christ. This is stressful. The fact that people can just put things on the internet using the data of millions without understanding the very basics of security. And Firebase basically encourages this behavior. That's absurd. So if you're using Firebase, go make sure all of these things are configured correctly and be very, very careful with it. And even if you're not, please be more considerate of safety with these things. You need to make sure there are good ways for people to report issues when they exist. You need to respond to those things as soon as you get those, because you need to let the people know you're actually working on it. You need to thank them for it, make them feel good about it, and ideally fucking pay them, because they could have taken billions of dollars from your customers and they chose not to out of the kindness of their hearts. Most people don't have that kind of a heart, and you should be prepared to at the very least support the ones who do. That's all I have to say. I went into this thinking it'd be nice and funny, but honestly, I'm a little depressed now. Those numbers were terrifying. So until next time, peace nerds.